Welcome to the first FPL Challenge video and podcast, and I'll talk about my current draft for the Unlimited Transfers Challenge for Gameweek 30 and talk about everything you need to know about this new fantasy format and talk about the similarities and differences between this and FPL. You can join the league and you can see the league code on the bottom left hand corner of your screen, XGI4F4, and there is a link in the description below, and you can also join my main FPL league as well. The same goes for UCL Fantasy by checking my UCL Fantasy content. Be sure to smash the like button if you want to see more Fantasy Challenge content on this channel. Let's get this video to the 200 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 23k subscribers and beyond. Also be sure to leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Amazon Music. Follow me on those platforms. The same goes for my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check out the Discord server, the FPL League Draft Town, and my Patreon and channel memberships. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. In Fantasy Challenge, there's a new challenge every single week, and in Gameweek 30, we have an unlimited budget, just like the Limitless in UCL Fantasy. I don't even use this to the full advantage with the 50-man squad I'm going to show you, because it only costs 97 million, so anyone watching could easily afford the squad I'm talking about with your normal FPL teams. But that could change because there are some alternatives, especially some premium picks in the midfield that I could go for instead. In Gameweek 31, there's going to be the stipulation and challenge of every single forward scoring double the number of points. So if you captain a forward, you'll get quadruple the number of points there. And in Gameweek 32, there is the Manchester United versus Liverpool game. So every United and Liverpool player will score double the number of points. So if you captain one of those sets of players, you're going to get quadruple the number of points. So let me know if you have any questions about that. The prices and also the point system is identical, but the deadlines are different, and the way it works is that so long as there are 2 games remaining within a single game week, you're able to make changes, and once a player has started their game, they become fully logged in into your squad. So this deadline for Gameweek 30 will be on Sunday at 2 p.m. UK time. So if you have any questions about that, be sure to let me know down the comment section below, and let's start building the 50-man squad for the Unlimited Budget Challenge in Gameweek 30. Despite having an unlimited budget for this week, I'm going for a budget goalkeeper here in Petrovic with that plum fixture at home to Burnley, and Chelsea are right up there in terms of clean sheet odds for this game week with that favourable home fixture. And Chelsea did quite well in the reverse game against Burnley, but they didn't keep a clean sheet there. They actually fell behind before winning comfortably at the very end. But I think going for 2, 3, possibly even 4 Chelsea players in your starting 11 is the way to go. And you heard me right, in FPL Challenge, you can go to up to 5 players from a single team compared to the usual 3 from FPL, and I think Chelsea is one of the teams you want to target. Despite Burnley having some impressive results recently, like that win over Brentford, I still think Chelsea will win this game and score a few goals in the process and perhaps keep a clean sheet in the process. And the same goes for the other goalkeeper who also plays for a West London club, and I'm talking about Leno, who is actually picked by a lot of managers in this fantasy challenge format. And facing Sheffield United away, it's a very close call who to start between Petrovic and Leno. I'm currently going for the Chelsea shot stopper, and Robert Sanchez actually picked up another injury, so Petrovic should be in the clear for the time being. And if he's also available and the main goalkeeper by Gameweek 37, he could be a great option in FPL, as discussed in those wildcard videos and podcasts too. But I'm very happy with these 2 goalkeepers. You can also go for some alternatives elsewhere. I think Emiliano Martinez is a decent option at home to Wolves, but if I'm looking at the best chance of keeping a clean sheet and looking at the fixture specifically, I think Petrovic and Leno are great options for Gameweek 30. You can go for the safe and reliable option of Virgil van Dijk, and if you're making a transfer for the long term in FPL, I have highly recommended Van Dijk, because with Bradley, he could become a rotation risk in a couple of weeks' time, and it looks like Trent will be back by Gameweek 33, but it seems to be delayed a little bit longer than the projected Gameweek 32 return against Manchester United. But Bradley, in the meanwhile, against Brighton, is a great option in the heart of the defence, and he's also a differential. And in FPL Challenge, I'd highly recommend you go a bit different with some picks, because if you just pick a fully template team, unless you get the captaincy absolutely spot on and you go a little bit different there, it's going to be very difficult to stand out from the rest of the crowd, and ultimately you want to do the best possible and perhaps win some prizes in the process. And that's where some differentials like Bradley could certainly factor in. He's got that assist potential, and the highest haul of any player this season, at least for a defender, has come from Conor Bradley against Chelsea, and he can do something similar against Brighton, although that's probably less likely. But either a clean sheet or an attack and return is certainly in the cards here for Connor Bradley. Now, the second defender I'm going for is to cover that Fulham defence against Sheffield United, and that's going to be Robinson, who is a very template pick. But just bear in mind, with these high percentages for a lot of players, some of them will be benched. You can't start all of these players after all, and automatic substitutions do take place just like in usual FPL. The price changes are also exactly the same, and the point scoring system is identical, so nothing new to really comment on there. Just the amount of players you can pick from a certain team, and that is 5. And there's also a few other things here and there. You have unlimited transfers every single week in Fantasy Challenge, and you can build a team specifically for that game week. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, there is no rank and overall points. And I do like Robinson away to Sheffield United. He is my favourite Fulham defender. He's not someone I'd recommend in the long term, but for this game week specifically, I do like Robinson, and he's a nice 1 week punt also for your usual FPL teams. And the final defender in the starting 11 is Gusto, and I'm doubling up on that Chelsea defence at the moment, but it could be Leno in for Petrovic to shake things up a little bit in the back line. And Gusto was spotted in training on Thursday. He was pulled out from the France under-23 squad due to illness, but it seems like it's all fine and there are no issues there whatsoever. But we've got 2 defender slots left, and I'm going for 2 defenders from the same team. One of them is highly template in Fantasy Challenge, and that's Pedro Porro. I think is a decent choice here, but in terms of clean sheet chances, I don't think it's that high actually. Despite Spurs being at home and Luton Town having so many injury problems, I think Luton could score in this game. But with Pedro Porro, you always have that attacking potential. I've always said this, and most importantly, the bonus points he can accumulate. But if you want to go for a different Spurs defender with lower ownership, with more goal threat, and he can also get some bonus points, Christian Romero could be an underrated option, and he even scored for Argentina in the international break, and he's got a few goals for Spurs this season in the Premier League. So this defensive 5 looks very solid. Some alternatives certainly include Virgil van Dijk, who you could still go for, of course. Andrew Robertson is currently injured, so Tsimikas is another decent differential in the heart of that Liverpool defence. But I'm very happy with this defensive 5 and these 2 goalkeepers so far. If you have any other suggestions, be sure to let me know down the comment section below. Salah will become a template pick in FPL fairly soon, but in this Fantasy Challenge format, over 90% of managers have selected him, and I don't blame them. I'm one of them. I think Salah is one of the best options this week, probably the best on paper for the captaincy at home to Brighton. But yeah, it kind of puts you off, I think, that ownership. You want to go a little bit different from time to time, but you've got to pick your battles wisely. And I think Salah's one of those players you make an exception for. You go for some differentials around him, whether it's in the midfield or in other positions. But I certainly wouldn't go without Salah this week, and I think it makes sense why so many people have opted for the Egyptian. And the same goes for another very template pick, and that's going to be Heung-min Son facing Luton Town at home. And with this fixture, given the nature and how I expect the game to turn out, I'd also recommend going for a second Spurs midfielder, and Richarlison is injured, so I would go for James Maddison instead. He got an assist in the reverse fixture against Luton Town earlier this season, and I think going for these 2 is a nice, I want to say differential, but it's a nice combination, and not many people will have both of them in the starting 11, so it's a little bit different from that perspective. And the same applies for my next midfielder, who is a budget option in the midfield, and that's Douglas Luiz facing Wolves at home. He has a great record over the season at Villa Park, but I can see some of you probably grimacing through the other corner of the screen. I can understand that, and going for Douglas Luiz in a Fantasy Challenge format, especially with unlimited budget, might seem a bit crazy. And my alternative for this differential slot in the midfield is actually Kevin De Bruyne against Arsenal. He was spotted in training the other day, and he probably will start that match against the Gunners, and he has a great record against them. So it's between Douglas Luiz and De Bruyne for my differential midfielder slot, and I'm tempted to go for Kevin De Bruyne in the end. And my final option is going to be a very template pick, and that's going to be Cole Palmer. So Palmer, Son and Salah are going to be owned and started by the vast majority of managers in this format, but there's still room for some differentials. I'd highly encourage you to go for some differences. Don't just go for a fully template team, otherwise you'll probably regret it. There's 3 forwards left to complete this squad, and after that I'll talk about the captaincy and ultimately define my bench and the order. If you are looking for a low-owned forward, I think Darwin Núñez and Jackson certainly appeal because of their fixtures, and Darwin Núñez was also spotted in training the other day, and it looks like the issue was very minor, so I'd expect him to start against Brighton. He got an assist in the reverse fixture against Brighton earlier this season, and I think he could do really well here. And I'm looking at Salah and Darwin. I think they combine very well. It's an underrated partnership in the Premier League, and going for 2 Liverpool attackers is certainly very appealing. If you don't want to go for Darwin Núñez, players but want to go for another Liverpool attacker, then Diaz would be my next favourite, and he could be the Douglas Luiz replacement in this squad. Now, looking at the other forwards, Isak has certainly appealed to me, and the same goes for Gordon at home to West Ham, but I'm going to go for another template pick here, unfortunately, in Ollie Watkins at home to Wolves, and he's someone I'd highly recommend not to sell in normal FPL, and there are certain managers who are doing so in order to buy back Salah. That's fair enough, but I'd still encourage you to not sell Watkins, especially for a hit. You can maybe delay this move by at least 1 week more, and even by the time we get to Gameweek 31 or 33, I don't really want to sell Watkins. Ideally, I'd want to keep him and also bolster my midfield by downgrading someone else entirely, but unfortunately Watkins might have to be sacrificed, but you don't have to in Gameweek 30, and in Fantasy Challenge he is still a great option against Wolves at home, who have so many injury problems, and I would back Aston Villa to bounce back after a few poor performances and results in the Premier League. Now, the final forward is quite difficult because you've got Erling Haaland, you've got Muniz and Jackson, but I'm going to go for the Fulham striker who's in incredible form facing the worst team in the Premier League, but you might even argue he should start over a Darwin Nunez or a Douglas Luiz, but I think this is the way I'd also order my bench. This is my current squad with Petrovic in goal, Bradley, Robinson and Gusto as the back three, a midfield five of Salah, Son, Maddison, Douglas Luiz and Palmer, a front two of Darwin Nunez and Watkins, and the bench includes Leno, Muniz, Pedro Porro and Romero, but there's still some room for manoeuvre. Romero himself might come out. I'm also looking at De Bruyne, and he could come in for either Douglas Luiz or James Maddison. Diaz is also another possibility, and there's a few things here to iron out. This squad isn't fully locked in, but it's my first draft and attempt at Fantasy Challenge. I've got some differentials in there, but the captaincy certainly won't be. It's a very template pick with Mohamed Salah. I don't own him in FPL, so this could be a way of compensating for that, and it could be Heung-min Son or Palmer as my final captain. Be sure to tune in for my deadline stream where I'll be gifting 5 to 10 memberships for viewers, and also check out my final team selection and all the content for Gameweek 30, so you'll be well prepared for what's to come in FPL. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Will you be playing Fantasy Challenge? And if so, who are you going for as the captain, and which differentials are you going to pick? I would be very intrigued to see your thoughts, and thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this video to the 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 23k subscribers and beyond. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, Draft Town, and Spotify and Amazon Music. Be sure to check all of that out. It'd be greatly appreciated. As always, I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 30 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.